can't continue to have $500 million deficits every year, year after year after year, and pull these tricks out of the hat to balance it, which is what we've been doing. Fortunately, because of the changes, because of the budget, the things we did last year and the year before, which are reducing staff in some cases and reducing salaries in some cases and changing the pension plans in some cases, it's actually ongoing cost reductions that will reflect again next year. Originally, we thought the budget deficit last year was going to be $712 to $718 million. It looks like now, based on the most recent controller's report, it's going to be around 350 to 400, which is because of it's a carry forward of the changes we've made in the last couple of years. So that's good, and it's amazing that we in this city see a $350 million deficit as good, because again, we can't continue to do that. Right. So one is we need to, I think, hold our departments, our city departments, of which I run one, accountable. And I think we need to do zero-based budgeting every year and make sure we start from bottom up, as opposed to see what you did last year and then add 5% for cost of living, which is kind of how it's done now. Number one. Number two, I think we need to audit all the nonprofits and make sure they're efficient. And right now, the way it works is the Human Services has a lump sum of, let's say, I'm going to pick a number, $300 million of nonprofits that they do every year. And it's not until the last month or the last 6 weeks of the budget cycle do we really know which ones of those are in that $350 million. And then if you go to the budget cycle, you'll see lines out the door of these nonprofits and their clients, you know, advocating for their particular one. And it goes, and some of these budget meetings, if you've been to, they go on until 3, 4 in the morning. I mean, I've been to a ton of them. I used to go to all of them for the police department. They always thought it was fun to leave the police department to the very last. And so we would be there at 3 in the morning and, you know, whatever. But I think what we need to do is have an annual budget cycle. And so, and rather than have these individual departments do the budgeting, I think we need to actually, during the entire year, expose what all of these nonprofits are and deal with each one of these nonprofits individually year-round, so we can determine that whether or not their services are efficient or are not efficient. So I think that efficiency will also help our city government. So nonprofits and city department heads, I think there's a lot of efficiencies to be had there. And again, beyond that, I mean, affordable housing, we're funding some affordable housing in the general fund. We need to do another affordable housing bond for all kinds of affordable housing, low income, mid income, BMR for police officers, fire teachers, et cetera. That will take some of that load off. I think our social service systems on the, particularly the homeless, if in fact we can start getting a level of accountability there, we can start winding down some of those services. Some of them we need to increase, like alcohol treatment and drug treatment. We probably need to increase. I think we can wind down some of the other ones. So I think there's a combination of looking how we run this city. We'll be able to provide some. Pension reform, you know, I'm against the pension reform measure that's on there, not because I'm against pension reform, but because the way it was did. Jeff Adachi did it to prove to everyone that he's a moderate, and I don't know if anybody knows Jeff Adachi. I love him to death. I've known him for 10 years, but Jeff Adachi is not a moderate, not the way I define it. I mean, he's a public defender. He can't, by definition, be a moderate. But you talk to the unions, the police union, you talk to the fire union, you talk to I'm supported by the home health care workers. They all know pension reform has to come. They're not stupid. They know the train's coming down the track, and it's going to be forced upon them if they don't negotiate. And so what I would suggest is immediately start talking before the budget cycle is over, before, you know, June, start negotiating with these unions about how can we look at pension reform through the collective bargaining system. And even if we had a 5% reduction or an 8% increase, you know, it would be substantial, but everybody together, rather than have the voters impose upon it, which is what Adachi's doing. And also, it's bad public policy what he's doing, because what he's doing is codifying in the city charter a specific percentage. I think it's 9% and then 10% for police officers. If you codify it, that means you actually have to go to the voters to either lower it or reduce it or increase it in the future. It makes no sense whatsoever.